welcome back everybody to a new machine that we're going to bring back to life. This is a John Deere LT155. That's shown on what's left of the hood there. Interesting story behind that. We'll get into that later. Picked this mower up for 50 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. Oh God, roughly a month and a half ago. Mainly I got it for the engine because I had another mower lined up, but that one ended up falling through. So we got this mower here now. Uh, Basically, from what the previous owner told me, it was running fine till about 2 or 3 years ago, and then the fuel started gushing out the carburetor. It has a fuel pump on there. It looks like it's been messed with. We'll show that in a second here. Um, so, yeah, let's get into it though. Here's what's left of the hood. He said a tree branch fell on the hood, shattered the hood. And there's pieces of it. I was going to try zip tying the chunks together, try to make a single hood. This plastic is so brittle, and after reading about it, I'm not the only person that's experienced this hood being so brittle that it's falling apart. So we're just going to take that, and we're just going to put it up there. At least the grill and the headlights are still good. If I can find another hood, I'll swap it on here if I keep it that long. Engine-wise, we have a Kohler command motor. Good motors. I don't think I've ever seen major issues out of them. 15 horsepower engine. The fuel pump in question is right here. There's some silicone hanging out the side here, which makes me wonder if when it started pumping too much fuel, he tried to fix it, and well, it didn't fix it. So luckily these things are only about like $15-20. So we'll see about replacing that. Carburetor looks like it may have gone into. I did power wash this whole thing down a couple weeks ago, but it looks like the carburetor has been gone through. So we're going to see about that, because even with the fuel pump, and basically how these fuel pumps work is there's a lever in here going off of a cam inside the motor that is pushing a bladder in there that's squeezing and squishing and expanding to suck fuel up in there, push it over there. Similar how the other ones work. They use vacuum though on the previous John Deere I had. Same thing on the Cub Cadet. They're a more common type of fuel pump. They use vacuum motors to actuate the bladder instead of a lever. Now what happens with these is these are set to maybe 3, 4, 5 psi fuel pressure. When it hits that limit, it's supposed to basically flutter at that point where it doesn't build pressure till it needs to push more pressure. Sometimes it's basically a valve in there that does that. And these are the same style carburetors cars have been using from probably like the 40s and 50s all the way up until till mid 90s. But I think still some computer controlled carburetor cars still had them. So their technology has been around for decades. And basically that's how they work, because either you have a return line where it returns excess fuel, or it just free floats in there until it needs to build more pressure up again. Sometimes that valve can go bad. I have not seen that very often. Usually what happens is the bladder inside will dry rot and tear, and then you don't get any fuel pressure at all. So we're going to see if that's the problem with this one. If not, we're just going to replace it anyways. No big deal. And we'll go through the carburetor, make sure it's nice and where it needs to be. No valve adjustment needed for this engine. These are preload or non-adjustable valve train. Basically, they're bolted on as a preload on the rocker arms, like a lot of modern cars basically. So we don't have to worry about doing a valve adjustment on this. What else we got here? Well, we're going to do something about these battery cables. He converted to a post-style battery. I didn't even know they made post-style batteries for lawnmowers. The end is on this one, luckily. Not this one. Looks like he might have clipped it off and then squished this down on there. I'll have to find a new end to put on there. I think I got something around here for that. Yeah, fuel line looks questionable. We'll see how that works out. One of the tires is bad. And when I say bad, the 3 of them have been holding air for the last couple weeks. This one's got a big split down the center, so I don't think it's going to take a tube. I'll take a look at my local farm shop that changes out lawnmower tires. Usually they have old tires that are still good enough condition, and I'll see if I can grab one of them for a couple bucks and then swap it onto this wheel. What else we got? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the Freedom 42 deck. This is a 42-inch cut mower. This is a mulching deck. You don't see them very often because they suck. Basically, how they will operate in multi-blade mowers, the blades don't overlap. They actually basically come pretty close to each other, but they don't ever touch. And to keep a line from going into grass, one blade set farther than the other. That way they can cross over, but not actually touch each other. This actually uses a clocked blade. It uses a cog belt, and the blades have to be timed because if they weren't timed correctly, the blades tips will hit. I think they overlap like an inch or something like that, but the blade tips will actually hit. So to keep it timed, so they don't hit each other. The problem is those belts snap. The V belts will slip if you, like, say, hit a rock or a stump or upgrowth of ground. A V belt, your blade will hit it, but the V belt will tighten down, stretch, and then slip on the pulley. These don't. They got a cog in there, which means they have teeth. So the belt will either stretch or snap, and that's it. And the belts for these are like, from what I saw from John Deere Direct, they're like $90 per belt, which is ridiculous. Amazon has them for like $30. Still expensive for a blade belt. But the guy I bought it off of, he said he just did the belt and blades. The blades do feel fairly fresh. Not brand new, but they still have a decent edge on them, so I'm going to take his word for it. This sat out for side for a couple years, so he didn't tarp it up or anything like that. Unfortunately, the seat's still in good shape. Like I said, the tins are actually in good shape. They're not really rusted. The deck's actually pretty solid too. He took good care of it. It was a K51 transmission, basically the one that came before the K46. Not exactly the greatest transaxle in the world, but it's good for, nice flat lawns. Missing the key, but I should have a spare key on my master keychain that I use for work. Again, work for construction equipment. They gave us like something like 80 keys to all sorts of different things, and usually I got extra keys for John Deere's and all that other stuff. Got keys for tractors and construction equipment alike. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix these cables. Get this off here, put a new end on that one, and then we're going to take the battery out of the Cub Cadet and throw it in here, and we're going to see if the motor spins. It builds compressions. I've already spun the motor. It builds compression. We'll pull the spark plug, see if we get spark. We got oil in there. We'll throw some starting fluid in there. If it fires off, great. We'll work on the fuel system from there. And if we can make this a cutting mower, if we can do it for cheap, and cheapest game here, I think this would make somebody that's in a rough situation a good mower, because without a hood on there, you're not making a lot of money off of. People really care about looks, and the hood would be nice if I could find a hood. And I'm not about to spend $200 on a new hood for it, just because the profit margins would not be in there for it. But if this turns out to be a good riding mower, it would be a good deal for somebody that's struggling right now that needs a riding mower. And I'm not against helping people out. So let's go get the battery out. We'll swap that in there, and we'll see what happens. Okay, questionable battery placement is in there. Negatives hooked up right. Didn't have an end for the positive, so we did that. It should work. Here's my keychain. I wasn't kidding. Like, I had like 80 something keys to all sorts of different things for work. Oh no, it broke some more. All right, let's see. Make sure I got the right key here. Yep. Hey, that is a good sign. Let's get ourselves. Well, let's pull the spark plug. Let's not be hasty. Remember what happened last time when I was hasty, and I caused some minor breakage issue. So let's pull the spark plug and make sure it has spark. It has oil. I mean, honestly, what would hurt by putting... No. Let's be smart. Let me get the spark plug out and we'll check for spark, and then we'll spray some starting fluid down the motor and see if it runs. We're going to check for spark. I got my son here. He's going to turn the key for me. Go ahead, turn the key. And keep turning. Oh yeah. We got lots of good spark with that. Lots of old fuel on it, on the spark plug though. Well, let's put the spark plug back in and we'll fire some starting fluid down the motor and see if she comes to life.
What's this?
Alright, let's see. That's the starting fluid, buddy, and plus probably oil on the motor. Let's get the fan running. It's gonna smell like we don't track that smoke inside the house, but hey, it runs. A little smoky, but that's to be expected. Very smoky. And that smells like starting fluid. Alright, so we got success on the mower here. It runs. I guess we'll start looking into getting a replacement tire, carburetor. If I can get this running longer than it already is, maybe I'll... Oh, where's the fuel line coming at? Right there. I'd like to set it up and see if the transmission works. That would be awesome. I hate to waste the money on a carburetor, on a fuel pump if I don't need it either. I'll try to figure something out here in a little bit. See if I can make sure this machine's running before I start dumping money into this thing, because I'd really hate to do that. So I'm going to see if I can set up a remote fuel setup. There's the inline right there. And we'll go from there. We'll see where we're at. Figure something out for this, because like I said, I want to make this cheap. I don't want to sink a bunch of money into this mower that I don't need to sink into it. So we'll catch you all in a minute here, and we'll see what I come up with in the next, well, for y'all, next 30 seconds. For me, might be a day or two. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, so we know it runs. Now the question is basically, is the fuel pump the actual issue, or is it the float needle? Because I mean, if the pump is still pumping, it's gonna have to overforce the needle there to dump extra fuel into the motor. So we're gonna get this fuel bowl off of here and get an idea how this carburetor looks. Like I said, I get the feeling somebody's been in here because it's fairly clean. Ew. So that's varnish. There's some dirt at the bottom of there. I think we're just going to take the carburetor off completely, and we're going to put it in the parts cleaner. Now let's put this back in here. I thought this would have like the fuel stop solenoid. Ew. God, I got varnish on my hands now. I'll leave that on there loose. Get a paper towel. Oops. I keep stepping on pieces of the hood. I've tried putting it back together by gluing it and zip tying it and wire tying it. And that hood just kept breaking apart more and more. Let's see. 2 10mm nuts on either end. Let's see if this is connected to anything else. Looks like, yeah. Pliers. gasket. Oh no, there is a gasket there. See if we can save that and not tear it. Good. Put that off to the side. It looks like the carburetor is already willing to come off. Alright, we gotta get the fuel line off. There we go. There it goes. Alright. And then just slip that one on. And that one off. Alright, so this one goes there, that one goes there. And it's been blackened in there. This would be the choke, throttle. We're going to throw this in my parts clean. Ooh, look at that. That's all gummed up. No fuel's going to be going in there. Where's my picks? See, that makes me wonder what else is the problem here. That's definitely not a restrictor, is it? And it's a piece of plastic. I'm going to keep that just in case. You shouldn't need a restrictor. It makes you wonder. But yeah, let's throw this in the ultrasonic parts cleaner and get this thing nice and clean. Give me a moment here, we'll get it set up. Alright, we got our temperature set to 80 degrees Celsius. 30 minutes is the maximum it'll do. We got our float wire down to the bottom of the cage so that'll get nice and clean. Drain bolt and carburetor. And what I'll probably do is 30 minutes. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like the needle already fell down the bottom there. I said I'll probably do about 30 minutes of this, and I'll flip the carburetor over and flip the do another 30 minutes, and then we'll go from there. But I'm going to turn it on. It gets very loud, and the microphone does not like this. So next thing you see, hopefully the carburetor will be nice and clean, and we'll go from there. Alright, so there was a lot more dirt that came out of that than I originally planned. So, it's a pretty dirty carburetor. Let's get this carburetor back together. See if we can get a good shot. Oop. There's a tripod here. There we go. Alright, so we got our carburetor. Everything works nice and smoothly. I've already ran compressed air through all the ports, the main jet, float needle area, and pretty much anything that has a hole in it. Make sure everything's been cleared out, no crud in there. Make sure everything operates smoothly. Make sure nothing's binding up. And then from there, it's fairly simple. We got a rubber seal. Luckily, Simple Green's rubber safe. So you don't have to worry about putting it in there. Generally speaking, I usually take anything I can off there gasket-wise, just in case. We got our jet. This is a rubber tip jet. You gotta watch these. Sometimes they will get bloated and swell, especially with ethanol fuels. I noticed it seems to happen more often than not. Alright, got that, and that. There it is. There's our shaft. Don't want to go losing anything. So we're going to take our needle. We're going to put it right back in the hole there. Well, no, I can't do it like that. That's a different kind. It has to go on this slot here. See? And then we just, well, get a good shot of it. Make everything go back together. Then we take our little shaft here. Make sure it's nice and clean. And then we just have to find, there we go. And make sure everything seems to work very smoothly. Put the lid back on. Make sure the rubber does not bind it up. Every once in a while these things will get twisted up, and at that point it ain't sealing nothing no more. And that's pretty much it. We'll tighten that up with the wrench. You don't have to go crazy on it. It's not holding a lot. It's just a rubber seal. If you tighten it too far, you run the risk of damage to seal under here, or warping the whole bowl so it doesn't seal up here. We'll put the carburetor back on there and we'll see what we got going on. Okay. Oh, move that out of the way. Alright, basically, second verse, same as the first, but in reverse. We have to get our throttle shafts, well, not throttle, our linkages back on. And that's always the fun part. There we go, that one's on. Move this out of the way. Well, that's already broken. Yeah, the gasket's clean. I don't see any crud in there. So let's slip it forward. Come on. Now, fuel line doesn't look terrible, so we'll sink that back on there. It's actually not dry rotted. I'm surprised by that. It's not dry rotted. Put the gasket back on the way it came off. Make sure we got some. Yep, everything seems to work the way it should. And these are two 10mm nuts. Don't have to go nuts, but try to tighten evenly. I'm sure there's a torque rating for this, but I'm trying to get a good feel. Yep, that should be good enough right there. Alright, and then let's tighten up. Yep. Hold on. Yep, I'm an idiot. I went the wrong way. Hey, nice. I always love bolting stuff out from underneath. Let's try that again with a little less stupidity. Now if I can get my fingers to work properly, that would be a start, wouldn't it? Alright. There we go. Like I said, you don't want to go crazy on it. And that should be good right there. I think the next plan is to get fuel to this carburetor, which I'll probably run a remote tank off of here and just run fuel right down here. And we'll see if we'll take fuel. And if that works, then we will replace the fuel pump on the other side here. And probably we'll take off the right here. We'll take off the back tins here, get the gas tank out, clean that out, because I'm sure if this had varnish, if this carburetor here had varnish in it, that means the gas tank has varnish in it also. And we'll get all that stuff cleaned out, and hopefully we'll have a running mower. We'll put a new tube, maybe used tire on the other tire here. And we'll replace the cable end so it's something a little more reliable and less fire hazardy. And I'll keep an eye out for a hood for this thing because I still can't find a hood. These things seem to, every one of I've seen so far, these mowers in this series, all of them are missing the hoods, or if they have the hoods, they're completely shattered. Not giving me a lot of hope here. I mean, you could buy a brand new hood for $200, but that'll wipe out the profit margins on this mower pretty quickly. We'll see if we get it running. Let's focus on one thing at a time. Let's get it running, and if it runs, it mows grass, cuts grass and everything, I'll make a decision then, but likelihood, I am probably just going to fix it up and sell as is, because somebody out there is going to need a cheap mower to mow their grass, and this would be a good cheap mower. So let's get a fuel tank set up for this. We got a hard line back over here that comes from the pump over there, so I don't have a lot of room to work with, but we'll get a fuel line on here and put a remote tank on here, and hopefully we'll have a running mower. And then after that, it was just one thing after another we got to knock out, and it should be fairly simple. Should be. Something will go wrong. Something always goes wrong, but should be okay. So bear with me for a moment, and we're going to set up the remote tank for this.